TP for teleperformance. This is how like, this is like teleperformance. This is like how I didn't do that much work on the back end with them. I did like, I was primarily like front end. I did like a little like controller stuff and like MVC stuff, but I really never interacted with the database. But mainly I would like, they'd give me API endpoints to hit, and their data would be really, really, it'd be like essentially, they give me huge data sets back, and then I'd be responsible for like doing all the manipulation with it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to render. It's essentially the same thing what I'm doing here, but instead of doing like, I can leave my score the same. But instead of just saying user is going to be grade.user, I'm going to split up this stuff into like username. So I'm going to like flatten out, what's called flattening out this data. Have you seen that term flatten? Oh my gosh. Oh. Flatten means like, so let's say I have an array of arrays. There's actually a flatten method on this. It's like 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. If I were to flatten this array, it's just like, hey, just make this into a non-nested array. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4. Kind of same things with objects. I'm gonna flatten it so it's just not nested. It's not nested. So instead of just giving back a user object, I'm gonna like come here and say like grade.user.name. And I'm calling this username because I have a skill name too, so I can't just do name. So I'm gonna do skill underscore name. It's gonna be skill, or sorry, be grade dot skill dot name. I'm going to throw these all on new lines so this is easier to read. Dot name. What else do I have? I could do my description. That's going to be grade.skill.description. And I'm going to do, oh, I want the IDs of everything. Let's do the user ID and the skill ID. So it's going to be ID. This would be user, or sorry, grade dot user dot ID. So I have, in my database, I have 3 tables. I have a skills table, I have a users table, and a grades table. So I'm grabbing all my grades, and then for each grade, I'm grabbing the username, the skill name, and the description. So there's going to be duplicate data in here, right? Like the usernames, I'm going to have a user in there multiple times. I'm going to have a skill in there multiple times in that description. That's fine. But can you see with this query, I'm essentially going to get everything back in my database. Like I get this, and this is what like teleperformance would do. They'd be like, okay, here's like everything you need. And then you can do whatever on the front end. So we're going to give you one API call, and then you have all the information to create any UI UX you would need. There's nothing else, right? I mean, I don't really need the updated and created at for this. So let's go ahead and I just want to check this and then I can slack it out. I want to add a route for this. Oh, it's not in routes.rb. Where do I want this to go? Let's do a get. I'm just going to call this TP data. Let's call this TP grade. Just making up a name. And that's going to go to, let's go to our grades controller. And we'll create a TP grades method. Cool, so then I can go to my grades controller. It's going to copy my index method because it's going to be similar. Except I'm going to call that TP grades. Then we'll call that method I just created on my grade class TP grade. All right. Yeah, let me test this. Exit out of my pry. I can just do this in my terminal or my window. So that's going to be API/TP grades. So undefined method. Oh, I spelled that wrong. I meant, could check that right here. Yes, I did main TP grades. There we go. So that looks like that's working. I just need to switch that right here. S, let's refresh. There we go. So one of my objects, there it is. There's the ID of the grade, the score, the username, the skill name, the description, the user ID, and the skill ID. And yeah, this reference guy is going to be in here twice, which is fine. So let me go slack out that grade model. This is still a bad way to do it. This is not changing that. I'll slack this out.
At some point, you're gonna get to the good way, right?
Yeah. That'll be when we talk about SQL. I think it's not next week, but it's in 2 weeks. So, yeah, we'll use some joins. We'll do join statements and join our tables together. Cool. Sweet. So let's go ahead and do this. I've already made this demo component. Let's just do this here. And just do the Axios call here. And yeah, I don't want to spend any, I want to spend as less time on this as I can. So I'm going to just do my const. I'm going to do my use Axios on mount hook. So let's get my data. I can just leave that data and loading and my error. Oh wait, don't I have a, oh, I have a list loader. Let's use that. Actually, no, I'm just going to grab this. I don't know if you all are going to have that, so I'll use my use Axios on mount. So I'll grab my data, my loading, and my error. Let's use Axios on mount. So that's going to be /API/TP/grades. If error, return. Let's just do our loading. So if loading, return our semantic loader. If error, return semantic. Should I have an error on here? Oh, wait, no, I have not stopped my demo. Okay, I thought I stopped my server. Cool. So now we can like render data. But now we can do some brain teasers. Because how do I want to render this? What do I want to do? We can do it. We can do a couple brain teasers and something. Let's also go change our seeds file to create some grades. And let's not have every user like this. I'm creating 20 users and then for each, let's keep this maybe a little smaller. Let's create like 5 users and 5 grades. But let's make this a little random and just do like so most people now are not like they're going to have a lot of assignments that are not graded. So I'm only going to create a grade if this is going to generate a number from like 1 to 3. If that's even, then I'll create a grade. So now I'm going to have some users who don't have grades. We'll kind of mix up our data a little bit. All right. Yeah, this is going to be, we can do a lot with this. I'm going to stop my server, reseed. So yeah, I have, 5 users, 5 skills, but I only have 14 grades. So we're missing some there. Restart my server and go back to my demo. Let's do this. Let's do a render users function. Actually, I don't want to render data function just so we can see it. I think this might be useful for us. A render data function, a render users, and a render skills function. So for this one, Let's go ahead and, render the username. Let's do the skill. Skill underscore name. And the score. Stupid syntax errors. Oh, forgetting a paragraph tag right there. This one, I'm just going through all my data. I just want to have maybe a list of what this looks like. And maybe I want the index as well. Let's see what this is. So this should just be the index of my array. So with the map function, I can just like give it a second parameter, which is going to be the index. So there's my 13 users. Or this is all of my grades. Right? And that was right. I had 14. When I saw that seed, I had 14 grades. Cool. So what I want to do next is, let's say I just wanted to render my users. Come down here, render users. And I don't mean like do this, just like render the user. I only want to render my unique users. So I don't want duplicates in here. Any ideas how to do this? Maybe I want to give you, so I'm going to slack out this component. Let's give you a little brain teaser here. And if you get this done, I want you to do the same thing with the skills. So I'm going to give you like 10 minutes to try that out on your own. Render users. Oh, there should be an S right there. Does that make sense? Cool. I'll give you 9. Yeah, let's just try it really quick, and then I'll come back on at 12:05 and go through a solution. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I'm going to do it right now too. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay. So here I have this render users function. Something I did, just remember kind of one of the rules we have, or not a rule, but like a guideline, is trying to maybe make our functions only really do one thing. So I created another function within my render users functions that's responsible for getting the unique users. I could have thrown all this logic inside of here, but now it does that. It gets the unique users. And so my render users can do the mapping and render that. So what I did is I used reduce. So reduce goes through each thing in your array and it keeps track of this accumulator. So what, and I start my accumulator out as an empty array. And then I see, hey, does my accumulator include the username? Or I see if it doesn't. If it does not, then I push it onto the accumulator and then I return my accumulator, which then goes on to the next round. And then finally, when that's done, it returns the accumulator. And when I, and then, so that's how I get my unique users. And then that's what I map over. I should probably call this like unique users just to be a little more explicit. I log those just to test it, but that's what that function's doing. And there we go. There's my 5 users. Now, yeah, is this the best way? Well, it is in the fact that it works. Yay. That makes it the best way. But how else, what are some other criteria that would maybe make this good or bad? It's kind of like 2 things I think that come to my mind.
Does it have something to do with that big O time thing you were telling us about?
Yeah, one of those is that it's like, is it efficient? Efficient. And there's kind of 2 ways you can think of this. There's like speed and like how much memory does it use. So there's that kind of thing. The other one I would say, like, is it like readable? I think that's important too. And I would kind of say it goes in these orders, like 1, it works is the most important. Then 2 is like the efficiency. And then 3. Sometimes you might make things efficient and it kind of makes them like hard to understand what's going on, but that's, I don't know. Depends on like how big it is. That might, like, if it's, those 2 might compete, but I would say overall efficient is more important. So looking at this, when I'm thinking about efficiency, how I can maybe think about this is kind of thinking about how these, like how this reduce works. So reduce goes through each thing in my array and performs a function. So that is n times, right? Reduce is like an n times algorithm. So is this a n algorithm? Like a linear algorithm? This is a little trick question. What about includes? What is include doing? Like, how does include work? Like, if you want to see if something's in an array, if you want to find something in an array and it's not sorted, you're going to have to look at everything, right? So includes is also an n. It's on this accumulator, so it's like the length of the accumulator. But with like big O, we would just say that that's also just n. So that would eventually grow to n. That might be like n half, but yeah, that's just n. So really, this would be a n squared. algorithm. So is reduce the best way to do it? I mean, yes, because it works, but it's probably not highly efficient. It's probably maybe a better way to do that without having to make it an n squared. That's not like a, once again, this is like 1, 2, 3, you know, like it works. Why am I saying in the? That's the most important. So like by far, it works is the most, like this is the most important thing. And then once you are for sure it's working, then maybe you can look at like, how could I do a more efficient one? And let me also introduce you this Elite Code. Elite Code is a way where you can, that has coding challenges. You can actually kind of create, this can kind of become, if you get like serious about this, this can be like a little resume piece. Like, hey, look at my Elite Code. Don't look at mine because mine's not, I haven't used it. There's other ones, but I think this is the one that like when I talk to students, I think this is the one they're using the most. But yeah, there's like different brain teasers in here. And the harder ones are going to be like really hard. And the medium ones are going to be really hard too. So I would stick with the easy ones for now. Like get some easy ones under your belt. The medium ones, I was just trying a medium one the other day. Like it might require you to know some like data structures, but what you come in here, you can start solving these problems and test it out. So this can be a good way to practice these brain teasers. And I think once you like, they might make you pay to see the solution. There's other ones, Leak Code versus there's like Hacker Rank, Algo Expert, Code Wars. There's a whole bunch of these where you can practice these brain teasers. So find one that you like and yeah, start practicing some brain teasers like that. And then with those, you might find, you can also like, the nice thing about like these, like try them out on your own. But I was just noticing this the other day, like, where's all their problems? If you get stuck on one or like it doesn't show the solution, but just like, dude, copy and paste this, throw this into Google, like Elite Code. You're probably gonna find like a video or like a tutorial on how to solve that specific coding challenge. So then you can see someone else go through it. That is like a gem right there. I just gave you a gem. Google the Elite Code question and find the video. You'll find someone who's like, you'll probably find like, yeah, look, there's like 4 videos right here. And these come in really handy with these, like with the harder ones. Because a lot of these harder ones, you want to see them kind of like drawn out, like on a whiteboard. Like here's how we're going to solve this. Here's how the data structure looks like. And so they'll spend like 10, 15 minutes like drawing out what it would look like in the computer. and you visually solve it. And then they're like, okay, now that we visually, it's kind of like how you visually see, remember when I showed you like those sorting videos or like the sorting page, and it shows you how it's sorting the array and you can like see how the algorithm's working. So if you go through and someone's like on a whiteboard, like drawing out how the sort algorithm's working, it's going to make it easier to code. If you look at some of just the answers for some of these, just the code, it's going to make no sense. But if someone explains the reasoning behind it, then it's like, oh. When I took algorithms and data structures at the University of Utah, my professor did not let anyone have a computer in class during lecture. He made you take notes. And it was really useful because you weren't coding, you were drawing diagrams and like, oh, this is how you do insertion short. You go through like each thing, change the pointer, like, yeah. So it's very useful way to learn these more fine detail concepts about coding. Cool. So yeah, Google the questions, find the videos. The videos are super, like for these, the videos are like what's going to make you understand these. Reading about these can be hard. You need merge, sort, diff, or like animation. Let me just kind of show you. It's like stuff like this. It's like, here's how you do it. Does that make sense? And then they'll explain like, oh, merge sort, you got to split the arrays in half. Then you got to like sort them this way. If you look at the if you look at the code for merge sort, it'd be like, what the fuck is going on? So cool. Let's see. So I think render skills is going to be the same. Let's do another one. Let's do this one. Let's do a get average. So get average. This should be like a return an array of data that has the skill name, and the score should be like the average score for that skill. So since we have 5 skills, this should be, this array should be 5, the length of 5. And I believe, yeah, I mean, there might, if there's no, if someone hasn't taken it, then the average would just be 0. Cool. So go ahead and do that one. And I'll give you a little longer on this one. I'll give you to 12:35. And yeah, don't worry about 4 and 5. Worry about 1, 2, and 3. Cool. I'm gonna stop sharing. Let me know if you got any questions.